sponsors. Do you have enough light in your life? Are you soaring in the joy around you? Are you stuck and unable to make life happen? Stay tuned for the Rabbi Jenny Show, where you will learn how to bask in the light and find more joy and meaning in life. Call to talk to Rabbi Jenny at 888-565-1470 and email questions and comments at rabbijenny.com. And now, if you're ready, stay tuned for the Rabbi who will light your world on fire, Rabbi Jenny.
Hey everyone, happy Wednesday. It's Rabbi Jenny and welcome to the Rabbi Jenny Show. I am so glad you're here. I can't believe that you're here. 7 longest days of my life between the last show and this show. A couple reminders. Please go to rabbijenny.tv to watch the show live and to watch old episodes. And if you're interested in sponsoring the Rabbi Jenny Show and you love what I say, please call in and let us know and we will make you a part of the show. Before we start on our topic, being teachable and reachable, we're going to tell you the 2 main Rabbi Jenny ideas because it's really important to me. It's in my heart, it's in my soul that you make these a part of your everyday life. And these 2 things are that the world is happening for you and not to you. It is happening for you and not to you. That's for, not to, my friends. And that you are divine love, light, energy, always waiting to expand and grow. And that there is actually a piece of that divine love, light, energy inside of you, and it is always waiting to be awakened and expanded. It's just our view of life that gets in our way. And that gets me to our topic, and we have an amazing guest coming on the next segment, and we'll talk to him about the topic, which is to be teachable and reachable. And it's really important that you are teachable in life because you never know what life's going to bring you next. Our inspiration for today's show comes from a very special story somebody told me once. And I want you to kind of sit back in your car or wherever you are listening to Rabbi Jenny. And I promise I won't do too many funny accents today, maybe 1 or 2. But I'm going to tell you the story of a beautiful girl born into poverty and servitude. Her name was Darifa. And she was born into poverty and servitude, and her name was Darifa. And she had the unfortunate fate of being sold into slavery. And she was sold into slavery to a family, and it was a family that made rope. And I tell you, everyone, you're like, what is she talking about? But this girl was sold into a family named Rope, and our friend Darifa, she did something amazing. She learned how to make rope better than any other slave in that camp. She became the best rope maker in this camp, that they actually promoted her to top slave rope maker. And then you know what happened? The village was pillaged, and she was sold into slavery to another family in another village. And our little friend Darifa was sold to another family, but this family was different. Didn't make rope. It made linen. And Darifa didn't say, why aren't I making rope anymore? She grabbed the linen by her hands, and she became the best linen maker in that family. She worked her way up to top slave again. She was actually getting to eat with the family themselves. They honored her. They were amazed by her talent and her willingness to learn new things. Bad story for Darifa again, because the village was pillaged and she was sold into slavery to a third family. This family was a little different, though. They were a little advanced. They had come into the new age, and they made ship masts. They made big, giant wooden ship masts, and they were revolutionary, and they were in the new age of travel and going to new countries and building great kingdoms. And she became the best ship mast builder in that family. You knew it, didn't you? But something very exciting happened for Darifa with this family, because she was taken out of slavery. They liked her so much and her skills so much that they actually took off her chains and made her a member, a regular old worker in the factory, and promoted her. And she became such a light in the head ship mast maker's eyes that she was actually invited to go on the ship with him to bring these giant masts to the ruler of the kingdom next door. And you're like, Jenny, where are you going with this story? I don't know. Well, let me just tell you about Darifa, because she goes on this ship, and this is exciting because she's no longer a slave. Everything makes sense now. She knows how to make rope. She knows how to make linen. She makes ship masts now. She doesn't look back. And you know what? Hurricane. Ship is hit by a hurricane, and she is wiped out. And she is deserted onto a beach. Does Darifa think to herself, why? Why did I have to make rope? Why did I have to make linen? And why on earth did I waste all those years learning ship masts? No, she just washes ashore. She just is in the now, and all of a sudden she's surrounded. She's surrounded by the soldiers from the emperor of this kingdom. And they grab the little girl off the beach and they take her to the king himself and the emperor. And he says to her, "Do you know something, young woman?" And she says, "No, I don't." And he says, "Young woman, there is a prophecy amongst my people. And that prophecy tells of a young woman who will wash ashore. And this young woman will be special because she will know how to make my special tent for my special banquets, my special parties." And he says, "Young woman, do you know how to make a tent?" And Darifa says, "You know what? I do. Because I know how to make rope, and I know how to make linen, and I know how to make big wooden poles. So I know how to make the best circus tent you've ever seen in your whole life." And the lesson today, folks, from Darifa's story is that you cannot spend your life looking back. You must take your life and be teachable and reachable in the moment, like Darifa. And that was my inspiration. I heard that story a long time ago. I heard that story when I was in like one of those dark places in my life where I couldn't see why my life had moved. I thought I had mastered. I thought I had gotten there. And how many times in life do we think we've gotten there? And we really have to just keep going forward because the universe is trying to teach us something. It's trying to give us something new. It's trying to bring us something new. The next inspiration for my topic today, being teachable and reachable, actually comes from the Disney movie, Monkey Kingdom. And I love this movie. And the inspiration comes from there's a hero of the movie. Her name is Maya, and she's a maca monkey. And she's actually low maca monkey on the totem pole. And she works her way up to the top of the totem pole when her tribe or her gang of monkeys is raided by another gang of monkeys. And they have to flee. And the only one who knows how to survive in this wild terrain is Maya, the one who was low on the totem pole, because she wasn't afraid to go into the water and grab the lily pads for her babies. And she wasn't afraid to risk her life. She was the only one that had the skills once they were banished. And so when she returns back to the kingdom, she is elevated to a higher place in the hierarchy. And it is amazing to me how much in life, if we just took what's in front of us and learned from it and became who life is trying to make us be, we would actually advance instead of staying stuck. Because so many times we are staying stuck. You know, there's that saying, when life brings us lemons, make lemonade. I don't know if that saying is good enough. I think when life brings you lemons, you have to learn how to make lemonade. Make the best lemonade you've ever drank in your life. Then make lemon cookies and lemon tart, and then shave the skin of the lemon and figure out how to make face cream. You know, take the life you're given and make the most of it. Because life is not good or bad. It's just life. It's just stuff that happens to you. And we have some inspiration from the Torah on this topic, being reachable and teachable, and not letting your role or your post or your station in life block you from being reached. And the inspiration comes from a couple places in the Torah or scripture that you will recognize, no matter who you are. The first one is because we are at the end of Leviticus, the first one is love your neighbor as thyself. A lot of great rabbis think that is the holiest sentence in the Torah. And the reason why it is the holiest sentence in the Torah is it encourages you to be teachable and reachable. Because if the divine is within you, the divine is within your neighbor. The divine is not limited to your belief or your station or where you're from. It is just inside of you. And if you love them, you will receive that love in return. And the other brilliant section in this part of the Torah comes when you talk about harvesting. You know, so often we're going through life and we're achieving and we're succeeding and we're almost blindly going through life thinking nothing can change it. But the Torah says that when you harvest your crops, you do it in a very specific way. You harvest it, but you don't reap all the way to the edge. And the reason you don't reap all the way to the edge is you're supposed to leave some of your crops for the poor and for the stranger. And I love this for our topic today because it's the poor and the stranger that might teach you something new. And you never know when you're going to be the poor and the stranger. And that's not like, but you know, when you're poor, whether you're poor of spirit or poor of money, you have to dig deeper. Seriously, you have to dig deeper. You got to take the fruit from the bottom, not from the top of the tree. You have to dig deeper in your life and you will have something to give the person who hasn't gone there before. And the stranger might know a new skill, might know a new light or something, something to give you or something to bring to you. So my listeners today, the topic is being teachable and reachable. And I want you to think about what's going on in your life right now. Where are you closed off? What keeps us from being teachable? What keeps us from being reachable in the moment? I was thinking about that, and I was thinking the things that keep us from being teachable and reachable are usually our ego. It's usually because we don't believe that we need to change, or because we're stuck in the way things were or the way we think they should be, and sometimes that can be age. Maybe somebody younger or older is really trying to reach you and teach you, and you just can't imagine that they have anything to tell you. Or maybe somebody is a little less off or a little more off, and you have just decided that they don't have anything to say. I encourage you today to open your minds and open your hearts, because everything in your life has come in for a reason. I believe that the divine light is always manufacturing and working and trying to expand you and make you the person that you are meant to be. And if you are feeling constricted, or you're feeling blocked or angry, or like you're in the wrong place, well, maybe you're not looking around in the place you're in. I have a couple stories from my own existence. I was in Starbucks, and I love Starbucks, and I plug them every show. I'm like, I don't know. I really like Starbucks, and I like it for the routine. I don't even know. Who cares? But I went to Starbucks the other morning, and I turned around, and this woman smiled at me and started to talk to me. And I've never met this woman before in my life. And she started to tell me about her child that she had lost. And she started to literally lift my spirit from the ground to the ceiling. I got in the car where my son was waiting and thought to myself, I cannot believe that woman just lifted me up so high. And if I would have just turned around going, don't talk to me, this is Starbucks. I don't need any new friends. I have enough friends and I have to get to work. But no, I opened up. I was so amazed at her positivity, at her love for life. So I didn't allow that. Sometimes I allow that, definitely. The other time I wanted to tell you about before we get to break is a patient of mine. I work in addiction, and I work with people with trauma, and sometimes we don't know when we're blocking ourselves in life, and it's sometimes people who are blocked that really undo our own mind. And I believe that is, the language of the heart that they talk about in recovery. And it's like if somebody has experienced something that you relate to, you hear them. You can hear them because you trust them. They're not talking at you. They're talking to you. And I had this client, and he was concerned about being happy without the help of heroin. And he was really, really concerned because he had been using heroin for 10 years, and he believed that heroin was responsible for making him happy. And as I'm talking to him and reminding him that happiness is not a manufactured feeling, it comes from the inside, I started to think about all the things in my life that I use to manufacture joy and happiness. And I would have never thought of those things if I would have closed my mind to this man, because he's in the other chair and I'm in the other chair, in the office. But I started to think about ideas that I think make me happy: clothing, TV shows, food, things that I think manufacture a feeling of happiness. And I started to think about, what is joy? What is happiness? How do we know when we're feeling joy? How do we know when we're feeling happiness? Well, I can tell you we'll get happier a lot quicker if we're teachable and reachable. If we allow life to touch us inside, if we allow it to grow our heart and make us no longer the stranger and no longer the poor. Because if your hand is out to everyone, nothing's strange. And if you're open to everything in life, you're open to abundance, and you can't be poor at all, So this is an important topic, and I can't wait to talk to our guests. Come back for any Tom, Dick, or Harry. We're glad you're listening on the Rabbi Jenny Show.
We don't need no thought control.
Spent hours in therapy, at the spa, and the gym, and still feel as if something is missing? At Walk Between the Worlds with shamanic practitioner Jennifer Sellers, you recapture lost pieces of yourself, place them within your heart, and move forward to fully actualize life. With individual sessions and group classes, with Walk Between the Worlds, you heal your mind, unite your soul, and empower your spirit. Contact walkbetweentheworlds.com today. Mention this ad on The Rabbi Jenny Show and receive 10% off your first session. Walk free and whole and true at walkbetweentheworlds.com. Do you know someone who is currently struggling with an addiction? The struggle is over. Dream Recovery International has the answer. With a combination of highly skilled clinicians, innovative treatment modalities, and luxurious amenities, Dream Recovery International has it all. Focusing on core issues, spiritual growth, and personal empowerment, clients of Dream Recovery International leave addiction behind and move forward to fully embrace life. For more information, go to dreamrecoveryintl.com or call 855-DREAM-80. Dream Recovery International, where addiction ends and recovery begins.
Times are tough, and right now those in the commercial world know that being heard via advertisements is the name of the game. AmpSquare.tv understands how important advertisement is and is proud to express that it's truly the only plugged-in internet television production company on the market. Amp2.tv live streams all their shows across all the major selling markets in the U.S. and abroad. Call them at 866-224-5422. The AmpSquare.tv library allows productions to be seen over and over again, making commercial platforms more usable. Call 866-224-5422. Toll free 866-224-5422. Amp2.tv, the first and only internet television network that's truly plugged in. 866-224-5422. That's AMP2.TV. You have been listening to Rabbi Jenny, who asks, are you ready to bring more light and love and joy into your life? A spiritually uplifting show that will change your world. Call in at 888-565-1470 or email at rabbijenny.com and share your thoughts with Rabbi Jenny. Now, back to our show.
Hey, it's Rabbi Jenny. Welcome back, and thank you for joining us on our show today. Our topic is being teachable and reachable. And before we get to our fabulous guest, I'm going to tell you a story. It's a personal story, listeners, and I want to tell it to you because you never know who in your life is going to teach you at any time. I was actually divorced a few years ago, and it was not an ugly divorce. I don't think divorce is ever pretty. But my son, who's now 12 and who was 8 at the time, told me that he would never forgive me. And he just made that clear. He's like, I love you, you're my mom, but it's just never going to happen. So don't even try. And so I sort of just decided that was okay. I was just like, he's a kid and I have to live with that. And, that's okay. And I never even, every once in a while I would, think about it or whatever. And the other day we were driving home and this is like 3.5 years later. And I wasn't even thinking about this, but I'm actually driving him home from school, from theater rehearsal. And we're just driving and talking. And he puts his hand on my shoulder, this delicious child of mine, and says, Mom, I got something to talk to you about. It's really, really important, and I've been thinking about it for a while. And I said to Sawyer Fox, my son, I said, what is it? He's like, no, I really want you to know that I've been thinking about this for a while, and it's important that you know this. And I said, okay, what is it? And he says, I forgive you. And then he says, and I want you to know that even if I yell at you or get mad at you, that I still forgive you for that in the bottom of my heart. And what my son taught me that day was time. He taught me that things take time, and he taught me not to give up. And he taught me that people heal and people change when you let go and allow them to. And I was teachable and reachable, and I didn't shun him because he was younger, or I didn't ignore him or turn up the radio and go, yeah, whatever. I was open to him in his moment, and I was able to learn. And I was able to learn how to become a better mother, because I am sure there are going to be other times that I'm going to have to wait for him to heal in his life. And I'm going to have to let go and let the universe and the divine take over. So we're coming up. So be teachable and reachable. And we're going to do our any Tom, Dick, or Harry for our fabulous guest.
Rabbi Jenny will talk to any Tom or Dick or Harry. Any Tom. Any Dick. Any Harry.
Our guest today is the host of Talk Legal on 1470 AM and iHeartRadio. His name is Jeff Andres. I'm like, I wrote down the wrong name. I've been on his show, and he has got the best voice in radio. Say
thank
hi.
you very much.
Say hi. Say hi.
Hello.
Tell us about your show.
My show is called Talk Legal. We talk about legal issues, stuff in the news. I have usually different guests on every week from all different fields within the law. And we just sort of talk about what's going on and break down a lot of the legal issues so that, it becomes more understandable and accessible to the average person.
Yeah, it's a fun show. Can they watch old episodes, or is there a place where we can get those?
Yes, you can visit my firm's website, oltmanpatent.com. That's oltmanpatent.com. That has a link to all on Ustream to all of the archived episodes.
I highly recommend it.
And you were a wonderful guest, by the way.
we threw some really hard topics at me, so I'm going to pay back the favor, and we're going to talk for a little longer. What comes up, Jeff, from your own life about times where you were teachable, where you opened, when things didn't really go the way you thought they would, and you had to embrace it and learn?
I think that whenever you have preconceived notions about the way that something's going to happen, you have to be able to adjust when it doesn't quite go as you think it's going to go. That can be in a business setting, it can be in an interpersonal setting. You just have to be sort of open-minded as much as possible. That's the best way to be adaptable, because that's really the key is being able to adapt to differing circumstances. The story that you told in the first segment, I don't know how to pronounce the name. It was
Derifa?
Derifa, right?
It actually means graceful, I believe, or full of grace. I picked it on purpose. It didn't originally have a name, but it's Arabic. So.
I think that story had a great moral to it, because she it appeared that she had all of these skills and they were for naught, but then she was able to use them in a way that she may not have previously foreseen. And so, it's very important to be open-minded and live in the moment.
Yes, and I need an example from your life. This is the Rabbi Jenny Show. We need to talk about Jeff Andres. Tell me an example from your own.
Well,
time.
I could just talk about there's been a few occasions on this show where my guest wasn't able to come in, or they missed a good portion of the show, and I had to just sort of talk off the cuff about a topic that I may not be as the same level of expertise as my guest, and so I just sort of had to just sort of embrace what I knew about it in order to set it up for when they eventually came in. So that's one example that happened a few times recently within the last month or so.
So being on radio is making you more outgoing. It's giving you skills like confidence.
Confidence and, just being, more comfortable with public speaking. If you mess up, you just keep going.
It's your own clock.
Exactly, right.
Okay. What did you learn when you started practicing law? What is one of the things that you learn most from others when you're practicing law? Is there a time where you learn from your clients that you can think about, or from your secretary, or from your coworkers? I think a lot of it is, with the clients. I've done, mostly intellectual property law, and I've, sort of learning from the clients. You have to be in their shoes and see things from their perspective as much as possible. The other thing that I learned is that when you're dealing with judges, especially, sometimes you have to break things down to their most simplistic form. Oftentimes they have very busy dockets, and they don't have the ability to read your mind, right.
and they certainly can't infer what you might be thinking or implying. So you have to really put things in very simplistic, bold terms, so that your point gets across in the most succinct manner possible.
Well, and that's a skill that you probably brought to radio, because people listening to your radio show don't know about the law. I mean, some of them so your ability to simplify terms helped you now. So it's neat to look at it that way. How did you decide to go to law school?
Well, my parents have a legal background, and I sort of grew up in that. When I was a young child, I went to law school with my mother, and so that always seemed like it was a natural fit for me. I I was an undergraduate, and I got my master's degree. I have a science background as well, so the patent field really always seemed like it was the most attractive option for me.
Okay.
And I love going to school. I love learning, and I could go to school forever if it were up to me.
So then I guess the question is, how do you get to radio? How'd you get here?
Well, I've always been told that I had a talent for public speaking. My voice has always been a big asset of mine, and I've been told for years, since I was very young, that I should pursue a career in radio if at all possible. And eventually I said, I should just go out and do it, and see where it takes me. And so far, it's been just a wonderful ride.
Is there something that you'd like to learn that you haven't learned yet?
Quite a bit. The thing about learning is that you don't necessarily know what it is, before it comes. But that's a difficult question. I'll have to think about that for a minute.
It's important. It's important. I put you on the spot there a little bit. Yeah, exactly. And what about with regards to people? Has anybody ever surprised you and taught you something that you didn't expect them to teach you? In many instances, you're asking if you have a situation where people have taught me something that I didn't see coming. Mm-hmm. Yeah, whether it's in interpersonal relationships or professional or academic or otherwise. Gosh, that's a tough one. I'll have to think about that for a minute. Well, it's funny because we don't realize when people are teaching us sometimes until much later. Many years later, we look back and go, I would never be the man or woman I am now if I hadn't have met that person. It's that same lesson from Darifa. It doesn't go to just skills that we learn. Some of the skills, I think, for the listeners, I want them to understand that it's not just making things. It's behavior. It's how much love you give. The more love you give in the moment, the more love you'll give in the next moment. And if you've judged someone, is there ever a time in your life, Jeff, that you've judged someone incorrectly?
Yes, on a number of occasions that's happened. I think that's very important is to hear the whole story before you can make any sort of judgment about anyone. And in most instances, it's really not appropriate to make a judgment because you're not in possession of all the facts.
Right.
And that's really something that you'd have to have. And that would include also being able to see the world through the eyes of the person that you're sitting in judgment of. So really, judgment 9 times out of 10 is going to lead you down a bad route.
Well, and it closes the mind. You brought up the term open-mindedness, which I absolutely love. And it's like judgment just closes it. It just decides. A judge he decides, true or false, good or bad. He gives an answer. And so when you judge, you're closing yourself off to anything new, any new information. So
I'll give you an example.
There we go. Yay, juice is flowing. Love it.
I used to I've never smoked. I've never, used any substances. I know that you deal with substance abuse, and so it's very easy to be in judgment of those that do. But if you're not living in their mind and their bodies, and all of the various forces that they're dealing with that make them do those things that may not make you do something. Likewise, there might be something that's afflicting you that's not afflicting them, and so. That's an example of something where you really have to take a step back and really recognize that nobody would want to be in pain.
Right.
That's not something that any rational person would want. So if they're hurting themselves, most likely it's because they really are unable to cope with what's going on.
How did you come to even be confronted with that?
What's that?
We have to wait. We have to wait to hear about how the judging of addicts changed for Jeff on Trees until our next segment. Do you know someone who is currently struggling with an addiction? The struggle is over. Dream Recovery International has the answer. With a combination of highly skilled clinicians, innovative treatment modalities, and luxurious amenities, Dream Recovery International has it all. Focusing on core issues, spiritual growth, and personal empowerment, clients of Dream Recovery International leave addiction behind and move forward to fully embrace life. For more information, go to dreamrecoveryintl.com or call 855-DREAM-80. Dream Recovery International, where addiction ends and recovery begins. Hey, it's Rabbi Jenny asking you, are you ready? Life can bring many challenges, and sometimes we need help finding the answers to increase our awareness and take it to the next level. So are you ready? Come join me every Wednesday from 5 to 6 p.m. on WWNN 1470 AM, where you can hear and see me bring spirit, light, and love into your life. Are you ready? It's time to change your life, take it to the next level, and embrace the greatness that is you. Are you ready? The time is now. Wednesday, 5 to 6 p.m. on WWNN 1470. So let's get ready. Spent hours in therapy, at the spa, and the gym, and still feel as if something is missing? At Walk Between the Worlds with shamanic practitioner Jennifer Sellers, you recapture lost pieces of yourself, place them within your heart, and move forward to fully actualize life. With individual sessions and group classes, with Walk Between the Worlds, you heal your mind, unite your soul, and empower your spirit. Contact walkbetweentheworlds.com today. Mention this ad on The Rabbi Jenny Show and receive 10% off your first session. Walk free and whole and true at walkbetweentheworlds.com.
You have been listening to Rabbi Jenny, who asks, are you ready to bring more light and love and joy into your life? A spiritually uplifting show that will change your world. Call in at 888-565-1470 or email at rabbijenny.com and share your thoughts with Rabbi Jenny. Now, back to our show.
Hey, welcome back. It's Rabbi Jenny with Jeff Montrese from Talk Legal, a wonderful show on Tuesday nights from 6 to 6:30. We were right in the middle of an exciting conversation about Jeff being open-minded and learning about addiction. We were talking actually about judgment, and that was sometimes we judge people when we don't know.
Well, I would say I was never particularly judgmental of addiction. It's just very easy to sort of think that when, why would somebody inject themselves with heroin or something like that? I had a close friend of mine that passed away from an overdose of, I'm not exactly sure what, but, he had demons that were so complex that I couldn't even possibly understand it. So, that's just one example of it would just, and I knew him very well. So someone that didn't know him very well, it would just be in no position at all to judge somebody like that. And I'm sure that you've, as an addiction counselor, you've encountered people with all kinds of very difficult issues, psychological and personal issues, and you're not living their lives.
No.
So you really, sitting in judgment of anyone is just not the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And it doesn't advance you at all.
No, absolutely not. I want to talk about, we talked about the story of learning in our life, and sometimes when things change suddenly or things change at all. Think of a time in your life where things changed. They shifted maybe in your career, and you had to kind of approach something new in a new way. Can you remember a time from your youth, or, not that you're ancient or anything like that, but even in relationships? Where things didn't go the way you wanted, and you had to kind of regroup and move forward, in life.
Well, I could say just a few years ago, I was a PhD student working on my PhD, and I just had a couple of things that had happened. A few people from my committee had retired, and then some subsequently had expressed doubts over some of the research that I had done. So I sort of had to scrap some project, essentially my dissertation project that I've been working on for about a year.
Wow.
And, I sort of had to regroup. I was on, I went on hiatus, and I eventually planned to return and finish. But it was many hours, hundreds of hours that ultimately did not result in a completed research. So, that was a hard blow. And so I sort of had to take a break and do something else. I had recently gotten a job working online in the bar review industry or bar exam prep industry. So that was something quite different from what I was doing in research. But that was a real tough pill to swallow when it happened. I can tell you. You think of all of those hours in the lab, late at, early morning, late at night.
Absolutely.
And
And
Yeah.
how many years ago was that? When were you working?
It was 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
So, and in your law practice now, because you do trademark and patent law,
Yes.
and have you learned something in the past 2 years that you think is going to add to your dissertation when you go back and? I mean, do you think it's
quite
changed?
possibly.
Yeah.
I think that just some ideas that I've had just from coming across with people, just different ways of approaching research, and of course, being aware that the academic world is quite different from the professional world. Each one has their pros and cons, and you just have to recognize them when you're within each sphere.
How will the radio help you in your PhD?
How will the radio help me?
Because it's a whole new thing
Well,
for
we
you.
have to have an oral defense. So actually that is significant, because just having, being confident when you're speaking and so forth, especially when you're presenting research to third parties, it's you have to display a level of confidence, and that's something that being on the radio is, it accelerates exponentially.
It seems like divine order there. We were
Yes.
talking actually before the show, having been to law school, and we were talking about how we didn't actually talk about this, but in law school you kind of get the feel for your personality as you're going through, and you're like, some people are going to do this kind of law, some people are going to be litigators, some people are going to go to court, and it's hard to judge who you'll be in 20 years or 15 years into your law career by the personality you are when you're a kid in law school, because the confidence sometimes doesn't come, and so is there any area of law that you'd like to move into as a result of radio? Like, has it opened you up to any new area in that part of your career?
Possibly. I've always had somewhat of an interest in personal injury, which I'm going to have Spencer Cooven, your ex-husband, will be on my show coming
Small
up.
family at W.
Yes, of course. That he's done. I actually have tried to branch out into elder law. There's some areas of that I like more than others, but I do have to say I really do love patents. I think that's definitely my passion, and probably where I'll try to stay focused as much as possible. But of course, you have to be open-minded and be willing to do other things as well.
Besides your PhD situation, what was one of your other biggest challenges in your life?
Depends on how far back.
I don't know. Take me far back. Jeff Von Treese.
Oh gosh, to come up with a story that would make sense, I'll have to think about that for a minute. Maybe in the next couple minutes, I'll think of something.
It's hard because we sometimes forget, and the part of learning and the part of being taught by Rabbi Jenny is remembering and seeing the order in your life. Because one of my main ideas, listeners, is that the world is happening for you and not to you. And if you listen to Jeff's show, you can hear that he introduces and welcomes new topics, can fly from back and forth, but maybe there wasn't a time when you were so free with your words, or weren't as easy and comfortable in your own skin, with who you are. It's a strange topic. What about you teaching someone else? Let's hit this from another angle.
Oh, me teaching someone else?
Is there ever,
I've always thought I would love to work whether in a professor role, whether it is in as an adjunct or otherwise. And I always thought that with my speaking presence and so forth, that I'd certainly be comfortable in a classroom setting, teaching others. Getting back to your what was your previous question? It was about other challenges that I face. Certainly. When I've had deaths in the family, when both my grandparents died, it was I saw it more on my mother's side. My father's side was in Michigan. With my mother's side, it was very difficult, on the family, and that's part of the reason that I had an interest in elder law. Probably the primary reason is just that there really should be more resources available for people that are going through that with a loved one. My grandfather passed away from Alzheimer's disease, and
I'm sorry.
if we that was a while ago, and it was a relief when he finally did pass, because it was very difficult and painful for him to have gone through that. But a situation like that, if we had known then what we know now, it could have made it a lot less difficult than it was. And so it really has made me be a strong advocate for not only those that are dealing with end-of-life situations, but also for people in a caregiving role and loved ones and children of those people. It's very important.
That is a perfect example of life bringing us, lemons and making lemonade. For our listeners, you may be going through something. I'm really big. You may be going through a loss that you just don't understand. You may be going through a change, a job change that you just don't have. How about an inner change that you don't really feel the same around certain people, or you don't really feel the same about your world, and you don't know what to do with it. This show is about looking around and what can I learn? What can I learn from this? Do I need to spend some time actually journaling or writing or talking to people about how I feel? Do I need to help others in a way that I don't feel helped? Is there something I might be interested in? Do I need to take a class? This is about looking around. We must continue to look around at what's going on in our life and use it as we're going forward. Where do you want to be, Jeff Montrese, with Talk Legal in like a year or so?
Well,
what are you thinking?
I would
We
love.
want to still be doing it. Yes.
Of course, I want to be doing it. I'd love for it to be syndicated.
Yes.
I'd love to reach in other markets, other platforms, including television or otherwise. I'd love to broaden the show from a half hour to an hour or even longer. So I have all kinds of goals and sights, and I'm very open-minded for what opportunities might come forward.
Okay. And what areas of your life would you like things to open up?
What areas of life would I like things to open up?
Yeah, that you're feeling that kind of feeling. Like, what am I learning here? We all have those areas. Like, what we're all shifting and changing all the time. So, is there some part of your life where it's kind of, how can I say this for the listeners? Like, everything else is working, but this one's not fitting in, or this doesn't feel right. I mean, it could be as simple as like your car. I mean, I don't know. Like, is there some area where you would want it to open up? Or
sure, I actually I've contemplated I've lived in Boca for a while. I've thought about moving close by, but I'm not really sure what direction and so forth. That actually can be somewhat stressful.
Absolutely, it's one of the big three.
Yeah,
moving, death, divorce. That's what they say, like the big losses, right?
Yeah, I always wanted to live by the water, and possibly moving more in that direction, looking at other things. I don't know if the listeners are too interested in all those details about my personal life.
No,
but of course,
you're being open.
Yeah.
The listeners are interested in living a better life. When you listen to the Rabbi Jenny Show, it's all about giving you the empowerment to change. And if you're changing and thinking about doing something you've always dreamed of, then they will. That's what it is in life. That's my big thing, is to let you know you can. The reason why you dream of living on the water is because you're supposed to.
Yeah.
Like, it's not put there for you to just dream about it forever. That would be horrible.
Right.
It's the universe will open up to it. Like, what steps you have to take.
I think so, and I think that you have to visualize yourself where you want to be, and so I would visualize myself living on the ocean or the intercoastal, and preferably. Not in a 500 square foot place, but someplace that would be spacious and comfortable to live in. So yes, you're right. It's about visualizing where you want to be, and at the same time being open minded, and let information come to you so you can make those decisions.
And we get afraid.
That's true too. You get sort of frozen, afraid of the future, and I think that affects everyone from all.
Yeah. And I always say that the fear is not necessarily the enemy. The fear is also the signal that you might be doing something good. It's signaling you that you're changing. The fear is just a sign from your mind that you're putting new information into it. Your mind's like this computer, and it's basically sizing up the world every minute. And when you put new information into it, it flips out. It's like, no, I've just figured out this space we're in. I've just navigated this way to work. I've just navigated this, time to get up for breakfast. Like, don't move me. What, are you kidding? So it's actually doing its job, but we've become afraid of fear. It was one of the generals who said, nothing to fear but fear itself. And I think there's good fear, the fear that tells you not to walk in front of a bus. But then there's that fear, that anxiety that's actually like, it's a good sign, it's a positive sign. So we got to get Jeff on the water.
Yes.
Okay, and you promise you'll come back? Jeff
Of course,
Montrese
yes.
from
Yes,
Talk
of
Legal
course.
to the Rabbi Jenny Show and hang out for the last segment?
It'd be my pleasure.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you in a few minutes. Do you know someone who is currently struggling with an addiction? The struggle is over. Dream Recovery International has the answer. With a combination of highly skilled clinicians, innovative treatment modalities, and luxurious amenities, Dream Recovery International has it all. Focusing on core issues, spiritual growth, and personal empowerment, clients of Dream Recovery International leave addiction behind and move forward to fully embrace life. For more information, go to dreamrecoveryintl.com or call 855-DREAM-80. Dream Recovery International, where addiction ends and recovery begins.
This program is brought to you by the law firm of Altman, Flynn, and Kugler. We practice elder law and intellectual property, including patents, trademarks, and copyrights. If you would like to patent your idea, please contact our Fort Lauderdale office for a free consultation. Call 954-563-4814. That's 954-563-4814. Or visit us online at altmanpatent.com. That's OLTMANPATENT.com. Spokesperson, not an attorney.
Spent hours in therapy, at the spa, and the gym, and still feel as if something is missing? At Walk Between the Worlds with shamanic practitioner Jennifer Sellers, you recapture lost pieces of yourself, place them within your heart, and move forward to fully actualize life. With individual sessions and group classes, with Walk Between the Worlds, you heal your mind, unite your soul, and empower your spirit. Contact walkbetweentheworlds.com today. Mention this ad on The Rabbi Jenny Show and receive 10% off your first session. Walk free and whole and true at walkbetweentheworlds.com.
You have been listening to Rabbi Jenny, who asks, are you ready to bring more light and love and joy into your life? A spiritually uplifting show that will change your world. Call in at 888-565-1470 or email at rabbijenny.com and share your thoughts with Rabbi Jenny. Now, back to our show.
Hi, it's Rabbi Jenny. Welcome back to the Rabbi Jenny Show for our topic being teachable and reachable today. And to introduce our last segment on this, I'd like to tell you a story, another story. It comes from the great Rabbi Nachman Breslov. And this is a cool story about being open to information in life, always being teachable and reachable. This story is called The Treasure, and it's a tiny little story, and it's about a man who once dreamed that there was a great treasure under a bridge in the city of Vienna. This man lived in the country, and he traveled to Vienna and stood near the bridge, trying to figure out what to do. He did not dare search for the treasure by day because of the many people who were there. An officer passed by and asked him, "What are you doing standing here like a mashugana and contemplating?" The man decided that it would be best to tell the whole story and ask for help, hoping that the officer would share that treasure with him. He told the officer the entire story. The officer replied, a Jew is concerned with only dreams. I had a dream, and I also saw a treasure. It was in a small house under the cellar. In relating his dream, the officer accurately described the man's city and the man's house. He rushed home, dug under his cellar, and found the treasure. He said, "Now I know that I had the treasure all along, but in order to find it, I had to travel to Vienna." So that is a great story about sometimes we get the right message, but we don't know where it's going to come from in the future. So we have to be willing to take that next step. Like our guest, he's got to go find that house on the water. So it's time for the ridiculous joy jar challenge. We have a caller.
Joy, 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 joy. It's Adeline Gobergstein, and it's time for the Rabbi Jenny Ridiculous Joy Jar Challenge.
Hey, who's on the line today?
Hi, Rabbi Jenny. This is Rita.
Hey, Rita. Welcome to the Rabbi Jenny Show. Do you know about the ridiculous joy jar challenge?
I think so, but you can remind me.
Okay,
sure.
What you're going to do is you're going to tell me, how many should we do today, Blake? How many things? 10 things. Okay, we're going to do 10 things that you're ridiculously joyful for, and you say them as fast as you can, and then you can tell us all about you and your business that you want to promote. So you ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, go.
Okay, my kids, my job, my house, my food, the beach, sunsets, camping, extra money, smiles on my kids' faces, my dog, pet rescue, and Starbucks.
I think you did 12. You win. Yay. Whoa. That is a new record. I think, what was it, 3 seconds? I don't know. It was a new record. We don't time it. We're a little crazy here on the Rabbi Jenny. Someday it'll be like a TikTok, go the clock. So Rita, where are you from? Who are you?
I live in Delray, and I am actually at work right now.
And what do you do? Where do you work?
Ridiculously happy about that. I work at Poppy's Deli in Delray Beach.
You give a little plug for them. I love Poppy's. Oh my God, I love it there. I used to eat there with my sister all the time. Best bagels and lox.
See you soon then.
Yeah, absolutely. You have anybody you want to say hi to, or anything you want to promote on the Rabbi Jenny show today?
I would say hi to my kids, say hi to Freddie, and that's it. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Rita, for calling in. Have a great one.
Okay, have a good night.
Okay, be blessed. That was cool.
Bye-bye, you too.
Okay, that was great. Thank you, Rita. So I want to remind our listeners that we have the Ridiculous Joy Jar Challenge every week on the Rabbi Jenny Show, and you can call in, and if you win that challenge, you get to say your business's name and plug your website on the show, where we're reaching tons and tons of people. One more reminder, you can watch the show live, or you can watch old episodes at rabbijenny.tv, and if you're interested in sponsoring or hanging out with Rabbi Jenny, give us a call. But I think it might be that magical time, because I'm feeling the urge. I'm feeling the urge to jam, guys. I'm feeling the urge. We got to turn that volume up a little bit. This is a complicated one. Life is teaching ya, trying to reach to ya, bring you knowledge, wisdom, and things. Don't be blocking it, and you'll be rocking it, learning and growing and spreading your wings. It's a beautiful day, love, it's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day, love, it's a beautiful day. The way you brought up got you so caught up, you can't see what lies ahead. Missing the castle, blinded by hassle, wishing on much of nothing instead. Assume you know it all, you will trip and fall, you will be all on the ground. Open to those before who walk through the door. Instead of lost, you will be found. It's a wise man who can understand that he don't know much. Trying to hold and acting so bold can keep you way out of touch. Dig in the dirt when you are hurt. Plant seeds to the sky. Throw up your arms. Praise don't alarm. Leap off and fly. Life is teaching ya, trying to reach to ya, bring you knowledge, wisdom, and things. Don't be blocking it, and you'll be rocking it, learning and growing and spreading your wings. It's a beautiful day, love, it's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day, love, it's a beautiful day. Be teachable, don't close your mind. Be reachable, don't close your heart. It's not what you got, but what you find. It's not where you end, but how you start. 'Cause it's a beautiful day, love, it's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day, love, it's a beautiful day. I want to talk to you for these last few minutes because it's going to be 7 long days before I talk to you again. And I want to remind you that you are divine love, light, energy. And I want to remind you that everything that you're going through right now, no matter what it is bringing you to that very next thing you will be going through. Because life is a journey. It's not a destination. Okay, I said it, the corniest and most common phrase. I was actually thinking about that this morning, how important it is when you wake up in the morning seeing it that way. Because sometimes we can be locked in our own routine and we can feel stuck. Like, when is everything going to change? When is it going to be different? When are you going to light up my world? When am I going to be on TV, Freddie? You know, things like that. You can think like that, but you know, you miss the moment. You miss the now. You miss the magic. You miss everything in front of you. And there are so many things. Like, how many things are in front of you, like Rita told us? How many things can you be grateful for? How many things can you feel blessed for? And I just think for my listeners, you have to remember Darifa, the little slave girl, and you have to remember Maya, the maca monkey, and you have to remember that when life gives you lemons, you don't just make lemonade. You make lemon cake and lemon squares, and you cut the lemon out of the middle of the lemon rind, and you make little houses, and you can actually make a lemon dollhouse. And I'm getting a little crazy with myself, here. But I am going to tell you another story from the Rebbe because we have a little bit of time. And I got to find the one that I was thinking of because can you imagine? I was reading these stories in the doctor's office this morning, and that's the thing you can learn from sitting in a doctor's office. I don't know. I was in a doctor's office and I was so happy because I got some good news. But I was in the doctor's office and I was learning how to be patient while people were talking around me about how long they were waiting in the doctor's office. Because that's what doctor's offices can sometimes be about. I'm sorry for this pause in the time. I could talk in a very, very fancy accent and tell you how fabulous life is, that you never know what's going to happen. You're going to actually be, here's a good one. Here's a good one. Oh, I think this might be a good one. I don't know if it is. It's a long one. I'm not going to tell you another story. I'm just going to talk to you some more because I just absolutely love talking to you. I'm trying to think of some time in my life where I totally wasn't teachable and I wasn't reachable. So I can be really, really honest. And it could be like a time in the past where people were trying to tell me that I was messing up my life. I don't really talk about that too much in public because I'm all fancy and a rabbi now and been to a seminary and had my hands laid on me and told me I was official. But the truth is there was a time in my life where lots and lots and lots of people were trying to tell me that I was doing something wrong, and I just did not want to listen. And so I think maybe the topic for next week is going to be listening, because listening is a big piece of this. We have to listen to what's going on around us, and it's listening on the outside and listening on the inside. And I just didn't want to hear what anyone was saying. And actually, they were saying the exact same thing over and over again, which is you're messing up your life. What are you doing? Who are you? Why are you doing this? And I just didn't want to hear it. I just didn't want to see. And some of that is grace, and some of that is finding a time, is in timing when you finally see things. But sometimes you can be reminded to open your eyes and listen. And that's kind of a controversial thing, with that whole tough love thing. Should we let go? Should we keep trying to fix somebody? And I think, you just keep reminding, because even if they don't take the reminder, even if the people don't listen to what you're saying, or they don't hear it, they will look back and go, boy, I should have heard that. And what you learned, if you should have heard that, is to listen, and that proves my point that if you are always teachable, then you can always learn something new and you can always reach something new. I think that sometimes low self-esteem keeps us from learning something. Like somebody may be trying to smile or trying to love us more, and we don't have the capability to open our heart and do that. We may be too set down. So this week you're going to be teachable and reachable. You're going to listen and let the love in. I'm going to miss you. Until next week, this is Rabbi Jenny. Thank you for joining me and Jeff Fontrice.
You have been listening and lighting up your life with Rabbi Jenny. Join us next week for another session of love, light, and joy as Rabbi Jenny takes life to the next level. Are you ready? Rabbi Jenny says the time is now.
The opinions